UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, Star Trek Universe podcast here on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I'm your host for today, Chrissie De Clerck-Szilagyi, and joining me today are my co-hosts Justin Oser and Brandon Shea-Mutala. So, Justin, how are you today?
Coo-wee, coo-wee. Sorry, I'm just practicing my Sorrowhawk call. Maybe it's not very good, but
Does that sound like the ocean?
shh. No, not really. So I'm doing really well. Excited to talk about one of my favorite things today. And it is not meat because I'm a vegetarian. Are we going to talk about food a lot like we did at the start of the last one?
There's some food in this, so yeah.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
Tacos.
All right, Brandon, what about you?
Coo, 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 coo. Coo, 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 coo. Sorry, I'm just doing my Bob and Doug McKenzie Great White North theme song.
Nice.
Take off, eh?
Nice.
Okay.
I feel like this is a time to plug Aaron Reynolds' Effin' Birds. If you want to learn more bird calls that aren't bird calls.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, I just want to get it out of the way because I don't want to derail the conversation later.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I find it unintentionally funny when he makes that bird noise. And
Really?
like the second time when he's just so emotional, like, cooey. It
is a little-
makes me laugh
man.
every time I see it. I love this episode. I
know
really
you
do. But every
do.
time he does that bird sound, I'm just like, this is unintentionally funny.
Man,
It's all right.
he is sharing his deepest vulnerabilities, and you're making fun of that. Man.
Yes, I
Okay,
know.
but we got it out of the way.
It's all right. Sometimes, yeah. One laughs at inappropriate situations. It happens to all of us. All right. So, do we have any news since the last time we spoke, which was an hour ago? No. Okay.
I thought I put that. I'm going to double check now, but I thought I put that in the outline because there have been times where there's been news while we've been recording. We're like, damn, I wish we had talked about that. But no, there is not any
It's
news.
true.
Since this comes out a week after the last one, but we're recording it the same day. So nothing
Yes.
earth-shattering. We can continue.
All right. Well,
But we also know that like 600,000 awesome news bulletins will come out in between the airing of these two episodes because that's what seems to have happened recently.
Yeah, I mean, the
too.
Voyager documentary is going to almost be done. It's fundraising. By the way, it just passed 825,000. Some
There's
HD.
news. Yeah.
Some HD. But,
Maybe.
it'll maybe. Pending Viacom CBS approval. But, yeah.
they'd
Probably
be
by
crazy if they didn't.
the time this comes out, it'll
Yes.
be way beyond that. But anyway.
Yeah.
I really hope that they do all. I hope they're going to hit
there's only
that million for sure.
I think so, but man, that surprise. I wonder what it'll be. Well, we'll find out another time.
We'll find out.
I bet you it'll be the Voyager 8 season 8 premiere right or
Oh.
is what they would do.
I don't know, because I think they talked about doing something different than that this time, but I hope it's a like $100,000 Voyager model that tours the world. That's my hope.
I know what I want.
It's the Millennium Gate. Sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
Go back into the
Talk
past
over
and
you.
build the Millennium Gate, yeah.
I would like to get like a 5-minute short episode of them on the holodeck in the beach resort program.
Oh, yeah.
And have Neelix do a sexy lap dance for Harry.
Oh,
That's what I would
God.
like to see. So
Some people would pay for that not to be created. My God.
that's the $1 million stretch goal. To not do it is the $2 million stretch goal.
Like, oh no, they're going to do it. We got to raise another $1 million.
More money.
But anyway, it's cool. They're doing really well.
Well, anybody who listens to Delta Flyers, if you're in the tier that can ask the question of Garrett Wong if he wants to see that happen. So, Calypso.
Yes.
Yes, so we're talking today about the second short trek, Calypso. What do we think about when we hear short trek Calypso?
So I think, as I said, when I think of Calypso now, I think of one of my favorite things in Star Trek. This since it came out, and still I think on my rewatch, might be in my top 10 of all of Star Trek. There's something about this episode that really, touches me and moves me, and that I relate to in a very deep way. And I just love everything about this episode. I mean, I'm actually not entirely sure why it's called Calypso, but it's what I identify with, something that I really, really love.
We'll talk about that when we get to Chrissie's History Corner.
All right, nice.
Well, Calypso is a type of dance, isn't it?
It's a type of...
Yes.
I thought it was a type of music, really.
Oh,
music
yeah.
and a dance and whatnot,
right.
so... the first time I saw this one, I loved it. I thought this was fantastic. And what I like about this episode, I mean, it's changed now that we're into season 3 and we've seen season 3. But when this came out, what I loved about it was the fact that it was completely isolated and independent from everything. Mm-hmm. And it was a world-building idea. It dropped all these little elements that we had no idea how they did relate or if they ever would relate to Discovery or the Star Trek on the greater whole. And to me, that's just wonderful to see because it opens up the world even more. It's like when Voyager went to the Delta Quadrant, right? It's like we've seen the Federation and this is what Star Trek... Well, now all of a sudden Star Trek can be all of this too. Mm-hmm. And... there's a whole bunch in between that's going to take us time to bridge that gap. And that's what I saw when I saw this. It's like, why is it there for 1,000 years? How did the computer develop its own personality? And who are these Vadrash? And how did this person get a Earth ship that's all with Betty Boop in it and whatnot? And, and what's been going on? Why was the ship left there for 1,000 years? And I don't know, it just opened up a lot to me, and I thought it was really cool. And I thought the actor was great, and I thought the story was really beautiful and very touching, and it was wonderful to see. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I want to add one thing before I'm sure you tell us what you think of it, Chrissy. But I like that about it too when I first saw it, Brandon, that it didn't necessarily have a connection. And if it never connected to anything else, that would be okay because it's a great story. And for me, what Calypso boils down to more than just, the characters and, all of the questions that come up is it boils down to making a connection between two very different kinds of beings, making a real, genuine connection. And that's one of the things I really love about it. It just had that focus. It is just those two characters really getting to know each other on a real level. And I just love it for that because it's simple, but it feels really profound too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so tell us what you think, Chrissy. Because you hinted about it last time.
Yeah. In all honesty, the first time I watched it, I'm like, what is this? Why am I watching this? Okay. It's a wonderful story. If somebody had just been like, here is a story, and it wasn't connected to Star Trek, I was like, okay, that's a nice story. I like the connections. It has grown on me, okay? Now that we have moved forward a bit, I feel like it is going to fit better. But I think it left me just wanting answers the first few times I saw it, which is basically what you guys are saying too. It's just that for you guys, it was like, ooh, there's questions to answer. And for me, I'm like, where did this
questions.
happen?
Yeah. And I did see other people that felt that same way like you, Chrissy. They're like, how does this fit in? I have so many questions and that weren't as into it because of that. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it has grown on me. And today, when I was rewatching it, I realized something clicked in my head. It feels like the beginning of Time's Arrow, where there is this future event that's going to happen, and it has to happen because we've seen evidence of it. It has occurred. Okay. It will occur. Mm-hmm. And then just how do we get to there from here?
Yeah. See, it's interesting that you talk about the episode because, like, for me now, I wish that it didn't connect into season 3 and what they're trying to do. So, like, what I see now is I look at this and this is what I think. I think that they wrote this because they wanted to play smart. They wanted to say, hey, you think we didn't have a plan? Well, look, we had a plan the whole time. Look, we wrote this short trek that was going to tie into season 3, and you thought it had nothing to do with anything, but we were really planning this whole thing all along, and now it doesn't really tie in that well. because of what we've seen in season 3. Right. I mean, like, the big thing is the A. Like, if you're going to try and tie this in, then why even bother put the A? I mean, when they did it in season 3, I had a problem with them renaming it the A because it's still the same ship. But if you're going to do that, why are you going to do that when it really right off the bat contradicts this story that you're trying to tell? So, and then it's not stayed there for 1,000 years. They jumped forward in time 1,000 years. So, I mean, obviously, this could change in season 4. This could change in season 5. This could be 1,000 years past the series finale of Discovery.
Yeah.
We don't know at this point. But based on what I've seen, I don't think that they're going to be able to tie this in anymore. I think that this is... They were trying to play smart by tying it into season 3, and then things changed in season 3, and now it doesn't quite tie in, which is also fine. That just makes me wish that it wasn't trying to be tied in.
Okay, can I add something to that? Because showrunner Michelle Paradise did talk about Calypso recently. I don't know if you guys had seen this. I think this was back in January when they were talking with her, I think, after the end of season 3 of Discovery. So she said, well, first of all, Calypso is incredible. I mean, it's just we love it. And it is now a part of Trek canon, but specifically our show's canon. It takes place many, many years beyond where our heroes are right now, and at some point we'll absolutely have to match up with that so that Discovery as a whole, including Calypso, all fits together as a piece. So certainly bring in that voice in episode 4 and having, we'll call her Zora, she doesn't have a name at this point, but having her hide in the DOTs and be part of the story in 12 and 13 is the beginning of driving toward that. And eventually, who knows when, we will absolutely have to make sure that we sync up with that. So I think they still have the intention of doing that. Like, when I first saw Calypso, I thought, one of the things I really loved about it was that it was so incredibly unexpected, right? You've had Discovery season 1, it's in the 23rd century. You've had Runaway, okay, that's shortly after that. And then all of a sudden there's this thing that's 1,000 years later when the ship is abandoned. That just kind of blew my mind, like they were expanding the possible storytelling they could do within this framework of Discovery. And I'm actually, like I said, I didn't care at the time if it would ever connect up, but now I'm really intrigued to see how it connects up in the same way that we can love when a novel takes something that seemingly contradicts or doesn't have the pieces there and puts it together. So if they can do something like that, I'm all on board. Now I think it's interesting that she was saying, like, it'll eventually fit in. Don't know when, like that tells me that it's not necessarily in season 4, and I think they have an intention of having Discovery go for more than 4 seasons. So maybe it would be even further than that, but it is really interesting to take a look at it, and there have been those hints, like what we saw in season 3, but we are far from having the complete answer of how it all fits together. I think that's an interesting challenge for them to do that and see what we think of it. So,
see, I think the original intention was that at the end of the season 2 finale, whatever they had originally decided was that they would have to leave the ship somewhere for 1,000 years, and Calypso would be taking place prior to the start of season 3. That's what I think the original intention was.
That's what I thought it was
during
going to be
season
too.
2.
Yeah.
Could be
right, and then it changed during the production of season 2.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, with them doing the A, you can't make this work unless, which
we had talked about.
I don't
ways
know
they
the full story
work.
of it. Yeah, they changed the shuttlecraft thing on the next short trek we're going to talk about to make it fit.
Oh, that's
right?
true.
Because they could just go and CGI this later on. They could
I think it's a big enough part of what you see in season 3 that they won't. But I mean, again, I think there's lots of possible explanations. Sure, it hasn't.
You don't think that they would go back and CGI an A on this episode for later releases, like just digital streaming?
No, I don't think so.
I think if they were going to, they would have.
I think if they're going to, they would have by now. And I did not see that when I watched it. But
see, I've got it on Blu-ray, right? So I'll never know if they do that.
But I think that whenever I see something like that, I think that's a challenge. How can they make it work, right? Just because it has a letter A on it doesn't mean they can't come up with a story reason later to take that off, right? Or it doesn't mean that for whatever reason there's a duplicated Discovery that has the same, or time travel or whatever. I mean, I think there's tons of ways they could make it work. We're all making the assumption that what you see in Calypso is the exact same ship that we've been following. Maybe it's not. Or maybe it is changed in some form. I think there's a lot of different ways they can make it work. I don't think it's true to say that you can't make it work. We can judge whether it's too convoluted, but I think it sounds like they have the intention of making it work in some way. So
Right, and they could definitely do that. They can definitely write whatever story they want. They've got all the time in the world to do that. I still believe that this was their intention, just as they did not intend to originally bring Hugh Culber back. They could tell me whatever they want about that. I will never believe that. I really believe that was a knee-jerk way to try and fix it after the fact. So I don't believe they intended to bring Hugh Culber back. Tell me that all you want.
We know
possible.
that they didn't. They didn't intend to do anything with Pike after until everybody went, please.
Yeah.
So
you know.
So what we're saying is this is the Thomas discovery, right?
The Thomas
Riker discovery.
Thomas Riker.
It could be. Yeah.
Could very well be.
But I think that for something that's like 15 or 18 minutes, I think it's amazing how many possibilities and questions that it brings up, and like how much is going on and like the interpersonal interaction. And I mean, Zora quickly becomes for me like a favorite character. One of the things I absolutely loved the first time I saw this is I think it could have gone the way of, this being a computer or an artificial intelligence that it involved in a way that it was dangerous or it's trying to kill Kraft or whatever. But it is not that at all. And I love it for kind of subverting that possible expectation for something that's been done so many times. She's a really likable character, and you can understand like the emotions and what she's going through. And the voice actor that did this, Annabelle Wallace, I think she does an incredible job of really expressing all of these emotions just with her voice. I think it's an incredible performance for that. So that's what I love as well. It's like these two people are just kind of getting to know each other. Nobody wants to kill each other. Nobody wants to harm the other person. They just want to have some kind of understanding of where they're at and what they can do next. And I love stories like that.
It's not high stakes.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not a high stakes episode, and it's a beautiful thing. And one of it's my third favorite short trek, right, out of the 10 that we've got so far.
Your
Like I love this
favorite?
thing so
Wow.
much. Third favorite, even after, like even with what's happened in season 3. That doesn't change my enjoyment of the episode in the slightest. I still love it exactly as much as I loved it the first time I saw it. Yeah, definitely my third favorite. I still like the Harry Mudd episode more, and I still like the Children of Mars more for sure.
Okay,
but I love this one.
This is this is my favorite. Overall,
short trek,
yeah.
That's not my favorite, but I like it.
We have a good diversity of opinion.
It's your top 10 short treks for sure.
Yes,
right?
it's top 10.
Yeah.
It's not my
Top 10
least
short
favorite.
We haven't gotten to your
I
least
gonna
favorite
say?
yet, I guess.
No.
We haven't gotten to my
I don't
least.
have a least favorite.
I do.
The Tribble one makes me cringe at the end, but other than that, it's anyway.
We're going to have
We'll
some
talk
interesting
about when we get
discussions
to that
about
one.
that one and the Mud one. Anyway.
Yes.
So, Justin, you brought up that the showrunner said that it's many years past where we're at now. Was that the phrase I heard?
Let me see. Yeah, I mean, you're right. She actually did say Calypso takes place many, many years beyond where our heroes are right now, which is 32nd century, since she was talking about season 3. And like that's when I first heard that Discovery was moving ahead almost 1,000 years, that was my thought. Oh, Calypso must take place 1,000 years after that. And like at the series finale, like the very end of the show, it's not the A anymore, and they leave it in a nebula, and it sits there for 1,000 years or something.
This watch was the first time it occurred to me that might be the case, that it's going forward. So, Brandon, when you said that, I was like, yes, that's what I'm thinking.
But I mean, also, one of the things that's central to this episode is there's this war going on with the Vidresh, which Michael Chabon, who co-wrote the episode, confirmed meant Federation, and there was a dropping of the name Vidresh in season 3 of Discovery. And something like that, like a war with the Federation by these kind of human-seeming people, would seem like maybe it would be something further in the future than what we see in the 32nd century, I think. But I don't know.
Well, we don't know.
We haven't explored.
Did they say if Earth came back in? At the end?
Not to the Federation, but they
talked about the Vulcans and.
But what's his name? Kraft was from Alcor 4. Wasn't from Earth.
Right, I understand that, but it just in terms of human-like people that might be in opposition.
Maybe. I mean, there's actually not enough we really know about the state of things in the 32nd century. So
that's what I was going to say earlier. Right. This is a beautifully put together short story that stands on its own even without the Star Trek context. And I say that not as I was saying it earlier, where I was like,
no,
but in a very, I love it for that reason.
It absolutely can stand apart. It is one of those few things in Star Trek, and I think Far Beyond the Stars from Deep Space Nine is one of them, that you don't really have to know anything about Star Trek to really get it and enjoy it. Like this short trek, when my sister-in-law came over to visit, I don't know, it was 2 years ago or something like that in 2019, we're like, hey, why don't we just put on this thing? Because my wife loves Calypso as well. It's one of her favorite things. And we put it on, and I think my sister-in-law isn't all that familiar with Star Trek, and she watched it, and she's like, wow, that was really good. And didn't have like lots of questions like, what the hell is this thing? What's Star Trek? Like, it is one of those few things, and I think a rarity in newer Star Trek, that you could show someone who is not familiar with Star Trek, and they would totally get it. They would get the story being told, you know, which is really cool. It's very accessible, I think.
Yeah. Well, I have Craft. Discussing Craft is next on there. But I really don't have anything on him until I get to my history corners. So,
well, I base my interpretation now is like Craft, Book. Like, I'm thinking they're from the same planet. Like, it wasn't really said here. I don't know if they like what was Aldair 4 or whatever they called it here. That could be like another thing, but that doesn't mean like that's where he could have lived there later on. Like, I'm just getting the impression that they're from originally the same place.
I think
so. Yeah, I don't know. That was my impression.
You think? So I think Book is from Quajon, right?
Quajon, that's right. Yeah,
and Craft is from Alcor 4, and I think in this episode, Zora says, "Oh, Alcor 4, you know, I think it wasn't inhabited at the time that she had been left in the nebula, so that's changed. I don't think they're from the same planet. I don't think it's even that the name would be different."
I think Alcor 4 is a different planet altogether, right? But I mean, that doesn't mean he didn't move there.
Maybe
that's where his family is now, right?
I don't know. I don't think there's a connection there.
Just the name Craft and Book. I don't know. Just seems. I don't know.
I was thinking that when I rewatched today too. Not that specifically, but how, if they had intended for this to be a few years before the Discovery crew actually got into the future, then that should have been Book.
800 years ago, when they in the 22nd century, when they left it there.
Yeah.
For 1,000 years to the 32nd century, there was nobody on Altair 4. Well, in the 32nd century, there was. Again, this is based on their original intention of making the episode, rather than, this is 1,000 years later, right? I think you got to look at it that way, because I really believe that the original intention for this was the lead up to season 3.
Oh, well, I wasn't thinking in terms of that. I was thinking if they had if they had their ducks together in a row, then Craft would have been Book.
So what you're really saying is the Discovery. So, yeah. So you're saying originally the intention in the 32nd century, nobody would know what a Tuesday is? I just kind of love that part.
Yeah? Why not?
Well, if they're calling it the Vidrash, the word Federation has been around less than Tuesday, I'm sure. So, yes. I mean, yes, I totally believe that, yes. Yeah.
Well,
and if they grew up on another planet in another culture, yes, I would totally believe they wouldn't know what a Tuesday was.
Well, I mean, you can say Tuesday to people who don't speak English and they won't know what it is. We always assume they're all speaking English.
Yeah, but I
think say, that's this day.
I think. Well, in the episode, I take that to mean. I mean, presumably, Zora is talking to him through a universal translator of some kind, right? And that there isn't even the concept of this kind of 7-day week or something like that, and it just can't even translate. It's like Tuesday. What is that? Maybe they have a shorter or longer week or something like that, right?
But she does call him human as well, right?
Yeah.
So I assume there's no universal translator, right? Like, I assume he's speaking English the whole time.
I don't know though. If it is really that far in the future, I don't think he would be speaking English that we would recognize.
Even
right,
if
the Vidrash, they call it that, right? So.
Right. I mean, have you ever tried to read Chaucer? It's English.
Tough, and that was less than 1,000 years ago, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Chaucer's English is
it's incomprehensible
in the modern day
us,
unless
right?
you study it, and it's another language.
Are you kidding, man? My kids watch TikTok and they say stuff to me that's incomprehensible.
Well, there you go. See,
it's
so funny. You guys focused on the Tuesday part. I always read that as Taco Tuesday, and that the translator took that as a full title. So here's the taco, she explains it. What's the Tuesday part? Not that he didn't know that there was such a thing as a day called Tuesday, but what does that have to do with the tacos?
Oh, I thought he didn't know the concept.
Didn't know what the
Tuesday.
word was. He just doesn't know what a Tuesday is.
Yes, I did. I took that in a totally different
Interesting.
direction. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you
Like it was part of the food.
So it was like
Because like Bajor has a 26-hour day, don't they? I think Bajor has a 26-hour day, right? So they probably don't have 7 days a week on Bajor.
It could be.
Their week could be 3 days long. Their week could be 8 days long.
Right, and I mean 7 days is something that's very particular to our history, how we even came up with that, right? And it could have been different. Didn't during the French Revolution they tried the 10-day week and that didn't quite work?
Yeah, everything went decimal. Yeah. And the Romans had an 8-day week, which is basically where we get our 7-day one after the Christians kind of manipulated it.
But also, doesn't having a 7-day week have something to do with, about 24 hours a day for rotation times 7 days a week is close to 365.
Yes, and it also lines up with the lunar calendar a bit.
For the number of weeks. Like 52 times 7 is 364. It's very close to like 365 days. So in another planet...
Well, I think the reason we have the 7-day week, though, is because of the Bible, though, right? Right from Genesis. He worked for 6 days and then took a rest.
Yeah, but that's only after Christianity becomes the dominant.
Yeah, but I think that came from...
Before that?
I think
the Romans...
I don't know.
Yeah, the Romans based the idea of the week... Well, the way it worked was... if you were employed, you had every 8th day off. Mm-hmm. So then that was your week. They didn't call it necessarily a week like we do, excuse me. But then when the Roman Empire became Christian, they applied that to the concept of the Sabbath. The 7-day is related to Judeo-Christian ideas. So Kraft and Zora/Discovery... Again, when I was watching it this time, I was thinking of all sorts of different things and come back to it with a different mindset. Why doesn't Zora embody herself as a hologram, like, right away? Or stay embodied as a hologram after he suggests it? Because we have all of these holograms running around, and especially if this is 1,000 years after the 32nd century, there's no reason you couldn't have a sentient or semi-sentient hologram.
Well...
So.
True, but the way that I took it was this ship has been kind of idling in this nebula for a really long time. And if you had like a hologram walking around all the time, that's pretty energy intensive, I think. So
I just meant once he was there.
Well
for ease of interaction.
But I mean, he even says at some point, like, why don't you put yourself in this? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm not a person. I'm not alive. Like, it doesn't make any sense to her to embody herself until he really convinces her. True. So
that's true.
I think.
And then after he's gone, there's no point in doing it because she's alone again. Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Although has to kind of run it one more time as he streaks away, which I think is a beautiful thing. But one of the things I love about this as well, and I don't know how it hits a lot of people, but I am very much a fan of old musicals. The one where the scene in here is Funny Face, which is not, I think, one of the better musicals, but there is something about, I don't know what it is, about that kind of movie or that kind of thing that I really like and can relate to. So I loved, and my wife and I loved, because we love old movies and old musicals, seeing this, like, that is the thing that is one of the focuses of this. And I don't know, there was something that felt very evocative to me in putting that together, this kind of movie footage of like Fred Astaire and someone dancing to this orchestral music. I don't know how you guys feel about that part, but that's one of the parts I really loved because I already love seeing that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was really cool and touching too, and it definitely fit in with Star Trek. I mean, we had old movie watching on Enterprise all the time,
and I love in this that Kraft talks about people being obsessed with the long ago, and like you're from the long ago too. And I'm like, that is like everybody in Star Trek. They're obsessed with stuff from like hundreds of years before. Yes. So
convenient. Strangely, it's all stuff that's like copyright free.
Yeah.
And strangely, it's all
except for Sherlock Holmes.
It's all stuff that already exists by the time the show airs.
Yeah, I know. It was really weird. It was really weird.
But
it works.
But it kind of works, and I think this is one of the few places where they're actually like, yeah, some people are kind of obsessed with that old stuff. It's weird, right? It's like, yes, it is, but we've come to accept it in Star Trek, right? Yeah, they're watching the 20th century stuff. Yeah.
As someone who's obsessed with old stuff, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't either, because I think that, like, here's
I know, I'm just teasing.
No, but I think it's an important point, because I think that I can really like some of the kind of older media, movies and TV shows and things like that, for some of what they bring, while acknowledging that a lot of them were made at a time where they did have things that we wouldn't do today or that are offensive or whatever. And like, I think that can keep people away from some of those older things, but there are things within there that you can really kind of appreciate for what they are, or for the, you know, simple feeling of something. I don't know what it is that I like about the old things, but there is something to appreciate there, and recognizing the context where it was created and how people did things then. Yeah.
Right. So,
wait, one of the most surprising connections from Calypso to later Star Trek is when they're watching the movie in season 3, and like, I think Giorgio gives Linus like a box of popcorn, and it has like a similar thing to it. I kind of love that little nod to that.
That was a missed marketing opportunity
to sell the Discovery
I would have bought
popcorn box.
A popcorn set with that. I totally would have.
And I just kind of love in Calypso, he's just like lounging on the captain's chair, like eating his popcorn, and like, what is this stuff you're showing me? Anyway, I just love the popcorn box, and that it came back later.
Yeah.
Chrissie's History Corner. Is it Chrissie's history or future history?
History and mythology.
Oh, okay.
This is a retelling of the Odyssey.
That's right.
At least part of it. Which, like, the first time I saw it, I was aware of that. I was like, okay, this is very much like part of the Odyssey, and they probably intended that. And it definitely, I would say definitely now, that Michael Chabon intended that. But it's...
I remember them saying that back when it came out.
Yeah. He said he was inspired.
I don't know the Odyssey. I've never read it or anything. So,
but he did say he was inspired by the Odyssey.
Yeah. So it's a really... there's a lot of very good connections here. So first of all, Kraft's gone for a decade. He said he's thinking about his son and how he's going to be 11 by the time he gets back. Mm-hmm. And he last saw him when he was just around a year old. So that's 10 years, which is how long it takes Odysseus to get home after the siege of Troy, and also how long the Trojan War lasted. Okay, but Calypso. Calypso is a character in the Odyssey, and she is a nymph who detains Odysseus for 7 years and is trying that whole time to convince him to stay with her, but he does not want to. He keeps thinking about his wife, Penelope, and he wants to go back to Penelope. And so, I mean, that is a very obvious connection. The name Calypso comes from the ancient Greek word kalypto, which means to cover or to conceal. So she's hidden in the computer.
Yeah.
Think of it that way.
Yeah.
Zora, this one's got a couple of different... in Norse mythology, Zora, and it's spelled like Sejora. And I'm sure I don't know how to pronounce exactly, but Zora is a water nymph who seduces passing sailors. So that feels to me like something that maybe is carried over from Greek mythology into Norse mythology, or, from some common ancestor. But Zora, with the spelling that we have here, is the family name of two sisters in Slavic mythology who are daily tasked with the opening and closing of the gates of their father's palace to allow the sun to rise and set. Which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I always wondered if there was a connection to Blade Runner, like,
Probably.
with artificial intelligence and whatnot, because I can't remember the actress's name, the woman who played T'Pol's mom. So her android in Blade Runner was named Zora as well, but it was spelled like ZH, I think it was.
Oh.
But there's an artificial life and intelligence and whatnot. I was wondering if there was... I always wondered if there was a connection there.
I bet there is. I'm honestly... I've seen Blade Runner once a long time ago, so...
It is spelled differently, but it is the same name, Zora.
When I looked up Zora, there was probably a dozen different spellings.
Yeah.
So...
So I have a question for you guys, because this is something my wife first asked when we watched Calypso. Mm-hmm. Is this the first time that someone has come by and that she's taken them onto the ship, or has this happened before?
Ooh.
I would say the first time.
You think it's the first time? Like
I would
nobody's
too.
come by for 1,000 years? Okay, it's possible.
Maybe there was more, and then she ate them.
He's like, better not eat them next time. That's bad. But no, like the way that I
just got dark.
but I think it's interesting to think about because, okay, it is actually quite likely it would just be once because space is gigantic, right? Like stuff's not going to be flying by this nebula all the time. But I do think it's an interesting idea to think about someone else coming by and interacting with Zora. But also, like, how long do we think that Kraft is on this ship? I mean, we see him in the mess hall like multiple days,
a while.
Presumably months. Are we thinking?
I'm thinking months,
Easily.
yeah.
Yeah, easily
Yeah.
months, but not years.
Well,
probably.
He goes from
No.
clean-shaven to bearded in the first few scenes, doesn't he?
Does he?
I think so.
I didn't notice. I didn't pay that close attention.
But it seems like months, and
Yeah.
I like the scope of that as well. Like, there's all of this time that passes, and they get to know each other, and I think it's wonderful how
Yeah.
they show the time passing. But yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is wonderful.
But for sure, whenever they do make that definitive connection, we'll have to revisit this and watch it again.
Yeah. Yeah, one other thing one thing in two parts. He has a tattoo of the Cyclops owl. Zora mentions that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you Google Cyclops owl, Short Treks is the first thing that comes up.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of pictures of owls that have one eye. Or like they're looking at the camera funny or something. Not injured owls, but yeah. But that actually combines two important things, okay? So the Cyclops again, going back to the Odyssey, okay, Odysseus defeats the Cyclops by blinding him, and he says, when the Cyclops asks his name, he says he's nobody. So then the Cyclops has to, is screaming, help me, nobody is attacking me. So it's this wonderful scene with that. Which that doesn't really connect, but that Cyclops' name is Polyphemus, which means abounding in song and legend, which feels like Funny Face and Betty Boop to me. Legend and song, right? And then the owl, and here's the thing that brought up the hair on my arms. Okay, the owl is a symbol of Athena. Okay, that I know. Athena is the patroness of wisdom, of warfare, and craftsman.
Oh,
Nice.
very
Nice.
cool.
Yep, that raised the hair on my arms when I was like, oh, because we always think about wisdom and warfare with Athena, and then I was like, I thought.
Craftsman.
So I went back and looked.
I mean, with the way Michael Chabon does things, I wouldn't be surprised if that
God.
was intentional.
Right.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. That is cool. I mean, that's the thing with this episode as well. Like, we talked about Runaway last time, and I love that, but it's a fairly simple story, right? Someone is coming aboard, and, they're not sure what they want to do, and, whether they want to become queen or go to the command track or whatever. There are lots of layers in Calypso in comparison. There's like lots of levels deep that you can go, and lots of symbols and mythology and all of that. It's just packed with so much stuff, and I love that too, because you can like keep finding things about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. All right. Anything else we want to say about Calypso before we say we're done with Calypso?
The last thing I'll say is I know that this person, Michelle Paradise, is saying that they'll go there, but I don't think they'll ever revisit this. Honestly, I think this will just get dropped by the wayside, and I don't think they'll bring it back.
I will bet that they will in some way, but it might be a while.
I'll bet you drinks in Vegas.
I don't really drink, but
See, but the thing is, like, if I'm right, then
I'll
we'll
tear
never
water.
know, right? Because it could be like 10 years from now, you'd be like, oh, well, they might do it again. I don't know. So
Discovery
I just
season
don't think-
14. No, but I think that if it is going to happen, I'll just say this. I think let's say season 5 or 6.
Yeah.
There's a tweet bot if you want to. Just tweet bot this. Just say, hey, tweet bot, in 10 years, remind me that Brandon said this.
I think it'll be
It's like a
less
tweet
than 10
reminder.
years before they'll
I don't know how I feel about Twitter being around in 10 years.
We'll see what happens.
Well, it's been around for 10 already, isn't it?
I know,
Yeah,
and
about 10.
Look what it's done.
I think it has done some good things as well. It's like anything else. There's good and bad things. It's as as a thing itself, it's neutral. It's what people do with it. But
This is true.
Anyways,
All right.
and if they never do revisit this, I am still content, and I will still love this episode as much as I love it right now, because it's really good.
I will
Yeah.
too, but we will see.
All right. Well, Justin, where can people find you when you are not singing the praises of Calypso?
Oh man, I love to sing its praises. So you can find me.
Its praises sound like this. Cooey! Cooey!
I still love that. All right, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at TrekFan4747, where I tweet about nothing but Star Trek, and you can find me in our Facebook group, the Federation Council Chambers.
And Brandon, where can people find you when you're not singing the praises of Calypso in Birdsong?
You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Matella. You can find me here on the network with my friend Zach, where we cover movies, remakes, and sequels on franchise fatigue. And then you can find me with my friends Chris and Tom on a show called Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast. Chrissy, where can people find you when you're not wondering what a taco is?
What's a taco?
And it's Tuesday. You can find me on the threads for our episodes in the Federation Council Chambers on Facebook, of course, and on Twitter, I am the Goddess Livia. That's TheGoddessLivia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics. You can also follow my work in history by liking the Facebook page my fellow historian partner Jason and I run, History with the Szilagys, and that's spelled Szilagys. And there we post interesting history stories we find, and of course, links to our own work on our webpage.
And if you've enjoyed listening to the show, please be sure to check out some of our other podcasts here on the network. As I said, Franchise Fatigue with Zach and I, where we cover movies, remakes, and sequels. Tony Robinson has a show called Trek Pod, where he interviews people involved in the making of Star Trek. Ken Tripp, Abby Ambrose, and Travis Kreisman have a show called General Quarters, which is a military-focused podcast. Amy Nelson and Patrick Devlin have All Good Things, where they cover all Star Trek all over the place. And Rhea, Kevin, Amy, and Joe have a show called Galaxy Class, which is focusing exclusively on Star Trek The Next Generation. And Patrick has another show on the network, Patrick Devlin with Chris Tribuzio and Casey Pettitt, their new co-host, talking all things Disney at Mickey's Marvels. And Lance Laster and Kevonte Chillis have a show called Always Hold On to Arrow, which is all things Arrow.
Thank you so very much for tuning in to Infinite Diversity. Thank you to our executive producers, Ken Tripp, Tony Robinson, and Zach Moore. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music, and Tony Robinson for the awesome show art. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and please subscribe. UFP shows can be found anywhere fine podcasts are available.
And other podcasts, too.
Podcasts.
Sorry, I can't.
No, that's all right.
Last time.
I love it. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/UFPEarth. For as little as $3 each month, you can get early access to our episodes, and maybe more importantly, feel good about supporting your favorite podcasters. If you'd like to reach out...
Sorry, I said that's worth so much, feeling good about supporting your podcasters.
It is. If you'd like to reach out, we'd love to hear from you. The network is on Twitter at UFPEarth, and our show specifically is at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any and all of the UFP podcasts on our Facebook group called the Federation Council Chambers, or you can email us directly at infinitediversity@ufp.earth. On our next episode, we'll be talking about the short trek The Brightest Star. Until then, peace and long life.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.
Recording.
Looks good for me.
All right. Get the papers. Do the Rachel Maddow thing. The paper's going. Okay. Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I'm your host for today, Chrissie De Clerck-Szilagyi, and joining me are my co-hosts, Brandon Oser. That's good. I was like,
put that at the end.
I did Brandon first last
We
time.
were keeping the announcement private. We weren't telling anybody we got married. Cooey! Cooey!